bottom center photo, he didn't get his rebate at that point. It doesn't have a first flush filter on it, so in the top right-hand area, or well, top left-hand area, it shows he didn't have the first flush filter, but over on the right it shows that he does have the first flush filter. Well, I made him add that first flush filter to keep the debris out of it, and to also shade it with shade cloth. If you can't paint these tanks and they're not black or opaque, they're going to grow algae. So he used shade cloth that he can bring up and bring down to keep them from getting the algae in. Okay. The City of Austin Water Conservation Program used to sell these for, I think it's about $60 for Austin customers. They were very limited. Now you can buy 4 at a time, as many times as you want to. Outside the City of Austin, you can buy them for $90. Retail, they're about $129, $139 on the internet. But they have distribution times from time to time at the city, and I think you still have to prepay for them because it's a pretty popular little 75-gallon rain barrel. Tanks come in very many different sizes and configurations. There's all different manufacturers. Okay. This shows a little simple system, and I was going to put this up on the board, but I have it in my booth right behind here, and it shows that system in a little bit more detail. There's all different ways to get the rainwater in the tank. Main thing I'm showing here is that once you pass the first flush filter and you're getting it into the tank, you can go underground, above ground, you can go above ground and over ground, so you can just mix it up however you want to. But in this particular little system, there is a valve right in the center of the system there that looks like it's on a little dotted line on the tank. That is the usual outlet for the tank, but I've also taken the water in to that. So that's an inlet as well as an outlet. So by taking the water into that, as well as going up and going into the side of the tank, when the tank's filling, a 2-inch valve's open. If it's raining a lot, it'll go in the 2-inch valve and also go in the top of the tank. When you're finished, the rain's through, probably overflowed. As long as that valve is open, you can get water out of your tank at any corner of your house that's connected to one set of piping to your tank on the ground or underground. So that's where it shows over on the left, another little hose bib. So your collection system becomes your distribution system if you feed the water into the bottom. So the way I use this, go ahead, I think it's the next slide, I'm sure. The way I use this in this simple little design is I would go over and open the bottom of the tank valve. It would recharge all the downspouts, and then I'd hook a soaker hose up to one of those hose bibs. It'd water a bed. Then I'd go open the valve again, recharge it, close the valve, move it to another bed, and it would water that bed. So it's a very simple way to irrigate your, of course every time you start it up again it's a little bit lower water in the tank, but it's a way to get water out of the tank. And if you want a better diagram of that, I've got a big chart of it that I can show you in our booth. Go ahead. How about using a pond tank? Well, this one shows the first flush filters are the 2 little sharp things on the bottom, the left and right. But when it goes back up, then it goes to a common horizontal tank. Hit the slide. Go ahead. So then this is going to a 500-gallon fiberglass stock tank, 3 foot tall and 6 foot in diameter. Go ahead. What you get out of the bottom of that valve is fish emulsion fertilized rainwater. Okay, it'll make your tomatoes just jump out of the ground, or your grapes. Go ahead. Drinking water systems. The City of Austin rebate program doesn't rebate for rainwater systems. If you have a centralized water system available to you in the United States, it's seldom financially feasible to put in a drinking water system if you have that available. You can work out the costs and how long these systems are going to last, 20 years, but some components are going to wear out. If you can get water out of the tap by hooking into a pipe, that's probably the better way to do it. There's other reasons to do rainwater harvesting for drinking, but it wouldn't probably be for economics. Go ahead. This shows some various different systems and a diagram out at Tank Town, Dripping Springs, but it requires your own little maintenance system. Go ahead. And it's a pretty complex little device. If you don't maintain this, you become your own water purveyor. But you just have to be careful and keep it clean, or don't invite any attorneys over for dinner. You know, so, they're not going to like drinking bad water. Go ahead. They get more complex as you put in more filters, and there's several people here that sell drinking water systems. So if you're kind of off the grid as far as your water is concerned, then drinking water is no better water around. I mean, it's just, rainwater is great. Go ahead. The good source of the tanks in this area are feed and ranch stores, or fenced supply houses, and they've been selling these tanks to farmers for years. They did begin to bring more of them in green and black because we want to watch that algae growth. But almost anywhere you can find these. It just so happens that one picture there is interesting, strange, but Triple S Feed and 290 Fence and Ranch Supply are across the street from each other. Now, if they were real smart, they could price fix, but they don't. So you stand on one side of the street, you get your price, and you holler across the street, and they'll knock it down $50. Then you holler across the street, back to the other guy, he'll knock it down $50. So that's about the cheapest place you can buy them around here in this area. But they'll be 30% more in a town where that's the only source of the tanks. So find competition, get some prices, and you'll come out a lot better with these poly tanks and the pricing. Go ahead. You have to paint them. I didn't say what you had to paint them white, but you can paint them with anything, house paint, but they do make a special poly primer that probably helps out a whole lot. But you can camouflage them, disguise them. The one on the top right was made to look like a nice little tank with stucco on it and wood. You can encase them in wood, make them look like a wooden tank. Go ahead. This is a tall configuration of a 500-gallon tank. That lady's standing next to a straw bale house that was built at a school in Austin as a demonstration, and they painted it blue and then put wildflowers on it. The kids did all this. Okay. And here's a low configuration of a 500-gallon tank. So depending on how much space you have, you do a tall and skinny one, or a short and fat one, or if the homeowners association says you can't put it over the top of the fence, you gotta hide it behind there. If they say you can't put in a rainwater tank, ask them if you can put in a storage shed or a garden shed, and they say yes. You get it in writing, you build the foundation, you put the tank in it, you build the shed around it. Go ahead. Sometimes you can't get enough water. You have too small a house and you want more water. You can never get enough storage, so buy the biggest tank you can, because you're going to be back buying another one pretty soon. Well, sometimes out in this area they have rain barns for no other reason than to store tanks under them and to get the water off the roof. So you'll find some areas here where it looks like there's nothing going on, but really they're just harvesting rainwater. And of course it's good shelter for cattle too, so it makes a good place for them to lay. Remember that tank inlet must be the lowest point in the collection piping system. This is a school we did in Austin at Westwood High School, and if you ever get in that area over towards Lake Creek Parkway, you can go to the back of the school and find the portable building that has the white piping on it, and go around back and you'll see this system that we put in as part of a classroom project for adults. The Zucca Botanical Garden, the master garden or greenhouse there, has, in this case, it's showing 2 tanks. They now have 4 in this system, harvesting water off the greenhouse using the rainwater in the greenhouse. So this is a returning system into that greenhouse. Go ahead. American Botanical Council has 2 850-gallon collection tanks. This is an old historic case mill homestead.